Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/OhNoConsequences. As per usual, I'll be reading you the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it.
Cross-posted from r/Petty Revenge. If you don't like it, you can leave. Okay. Buckle up. I, 24 female, lived in an apartment with my ex-fiancé, male 28, we'll call him EF, for about 4 years. Due to us equally not being great to each other, the relationship did not last. We called off the engagement in September of 2022, but our lease didn't end until the following July. We agreed to live together until then. Fast forward to April of 2023, I wake up on a Tuesday morning to get ready for work and find a lady, we'll call her L, clothes in my bathroom. No big deal. EF and I were coexisting as roommates just fine, so there were no hard feelings about romantic guests on my end. The issues arose when EF explained that L would not be spending one night, but rather living with us for an undetermined amount of time. For context, EF has a bit of a savior complex, and L is in the business of being a damsel in distress. EF had rescued her from a situation that she made up because she caught feelings for him. I let them both know that I expected to split the bills 3 ways, and EF did not like hearing this. He told me we would not be splitting 1/3, but rather he and I would continue to split 50-50. I told him that wasn't going to work, and his response was, "If you don't like it, then you can leave." One thing EF didn't learn about me in the 4 years we were together: I will accomplish anything I set out to do. And with that one line, I was determined to leave. By divine intervention or sheer luck, an opportunity came up on Facebook Marketplace for a room in my same neighborhood. I messaged the poster that next Thursday, and by Friday, I was moving my stuff in. When I told EF about my decision, he was floored. He didn't think I would actually move out that quickly. He tried to convince me to stay. I simply told him I didn't like it here anymore, so I was going to leave. That week between L's arrival and my moving out was awful, and we had both become animals towards each other. It was so toxic, and although it was crazy to leave the comfort of where I'd been, it was such a relief to leave all of the bad parts of that chapter behind in one swift action. Fast forward a couple of months, L got a part-time job and blew her paycheck on alcohol. EF despises alcohol for personal reasons, so I guess the romance died out quickly. L ended up calling the guy EF had initially saved her from and made EF the new bad guy. She left that night and never came back. EF kept me in the loop. We were still friends at this point, and I knew his situation was about to go to shit, so I wanted to be around to sip the tea. Apparently, EF had given L so much money that he could no longer afford rent. He had to move back with his parents after 2 months of my departure. And bonus pettiness! During the week that I was looking for another place, shit had gotten so bad. Like, I was still on his phone plan, and he decided to cut my phone off without telling me first. The man loves video games more than air, so I figured the only way I could get his attention would be to change the Wi-Fi password. Lightbulb moment. Why not make a point and take the whole modem? So that's what I did. Yoinked that bitch from the wall, and 10 minutes later, my phone turns back on. He texted me to bring the modem back, and I told him I would as soon as he released my phone from his plan. Problem solved. Too long didn't read, I didn't like it, so I left and took the modem on the way out. Hey dude, I know that you're my ex-fiancé, but we've cohabitated for quite a while now, almost 6 months, and things have been going really well. I understand you have a new romantic interest and are looking to move her in. How about we split the rent 3 ways between all of us? No? If I don't like it, I can leave? Okay. See you later. Have fun paying 100% of the rent now because I'm not putting up with that shit. Damn, you didn't think I'd actually go through with it? Well, that's not my problem. See ya. Oh no. The girl that you brought in and rescued her because she has a bit of a victim complex and you have a savior complex is now painting you as the villain? Oh, shocking. Oh no. Good luck. Enjoy those consequences. We've got another cross post from Best Of. This one was posted by Husker Girl 86. No tagline from them. The original OP is Mousy Shalon, I hope. Mousy Shalon? Something like that. posted to r/wedding drama March 8th, 2023. My dad is pretending I'm not getting married. So, my dad has always been a very show-off person. Announcements about grades, telling everyone how great his daughters are doing. Telling off my sister for having a job he can't show off. When he divorced from my mom, he was a good parent for a while, and then he met Ava. Ava is way younger, has had a lot of work done, and used to send him flirty messages when he was still married. They got married very early on in the relationship because they've known each other for ages. She told him not to text us too much because we are adults. She checks his phone all the time. She forbade him from seeing us Christmas Day or St. Stephen's Day. I actually had to Google that one. It's December 26th for those of you who may not have been aware. It celebrates the first martyr of Christmas. Cool. She forbade him from seeing us Christmas Day or St. Stephen's Day because he needed to be with his new family. And it would have been disrespectful to her for him to see his ex-wife, and she's overall been an absolute nightmare. And he follows everything she tells him to do. Now I'm getting married and told my dad he's invited, but she's not. I've met the woman once and I don't like her. Plus I know my father isn't a great person and he'd be making jabs at my mom about being older than Ava, etc. To make it fair, my mom's boyfriend is also not invited, although he's a sweetheart. My dad's answer to my invite has been to pretend nothing is happening. I sent him a save the date and he sent me a thumbs up emoji. He hasn't asked me one question about the wedding, not even the venue, even though he told me shortly before meeting Ava that he was looking forward to me and my sister getting married and how excited he was. Myself and my fiancé are different religions and cultures, so everyone's had lots of questions about how we're handling that. Turns out he hasn't told Ava I'm getting married, and he hasn't told anyone else, so he's just planning to say he has a work trip and come to the wedding. I don't actually think he's going to show up. I think he will say he's going to, and then not show at the last minute, but my sister thinks he'll show up with her and make a whole scene because he told her Ava has just as much right to be there as your mom. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Anyone else dealt with something similar? Do I need a backup to walk me down the aisle? Relevant comments. Sailor Spiral comments. I just want to point out that your dad is in an abusive relationship. His new wife is cutting him off from his family, his support system, so she can have more control over him. He probably won't be allowed to go to the wedding because she's not invited, and probably wouldn't have been allowed to even if she was. Your dad is an ass all on his own, but I think it's important to recognize that he's still capable of being abused, and that it's happening. OP responds, yes, they both suck. He has always been a cheater, at least 3 other women during the span of 10 years that we have evidence of. And I think, no evidence, he was cheating on my mom with her, so that's why she's constantly monitoring his phone and not allowing him to leave the house. We told him not to marry her, and that her behavior is very concerning, but he seems very blind. User Grumpy Smiler comments, it sounds like he wants to come, and he knows the only way him coming without his wife is possible is if he lies about it. He's risking getting caught to be able to go, which speaks volumes about their relationship, but if she checks his phone, you're causing further risk of her finding out if you keep messaging him about the wedding. Stick to phone calls so there's no record. I hope he can make it, and there's no drama. OP responds, I rang him the first time to tell him I was getting married, and then sent him the save the date the second time, asking if he was coming. I didn't know that he hadn't told her at the time. I've no idea why the wife wouldn't let him go to his daughter's wedding, though, if she's as amazing as he says. Questions on why mom's boyfriend isn't invited. Far more drama if I include him and exclude Ava. It's not worth the headache. He will for sure not show up if I invite my mom's boyfriend and not his wife. My mom understands that even though my dad is not the best dad ever, I still want him there. They aren't together that long, so she's okay with her boyfriend staying at home. Plus, then he can stay with the dogs and she doesn't have to worry about getting a dog sitter. Most of the family is going as well, so there's nobody to look after them. Update, October 9th, 2023. So, it turns out my dad ended up telling Ava about my wedding and telling her that she was invited to the wedding to avoid problems. She got herself a dress, booked a hotel, etc. My dad tried to convince me to invite her, but his biggest selling point was that he thought it'd be an amazing time to introduce Ava to my mom and my mom's whole family. Why would he think my mom would want to meet this woman is beyond me, and that she would feel excluded otherwise. He always rubs in our faces his new family, even calling it his new family. Keeps canceling every dinner he sets up with my sister due to some emergency involving Ava, or tells us to call Ava Mom. Both me and my sister are way beyond the point of calling some randomer Mom, since we both moved out, and he's being ridiculous. He called me again and again, trying to convince me, and I said no, explaining that I knew the only reason he wanted to bring his wife to the wedding was to upset Mom, and that I wasn't going to let the two of them do that. He makes jabs at my mom every time he's around her about how great his new wife is. I thought the whole thing was over until I sent him some information about the wedding, and I guess he started feeling guilty and told us that he booked the flight for Ava as well. And he booked himself on the same flight as my mom. Changed his whole flight plans just so he could be on the flight with her, so that my mom and Ava could still meet. AKA, he could still rub his new wife in her face and try and screw with my mom's head by putting her down and making comparisons. And then Ava would just go off and shop while he was at the ceremony. I'm not sure if this is true or if he was gonna try to bring her to the wedding and hope she didn't get kicked out. I'm trying to convince my mom to change her flight so he can't get inside her head 12 hours before the wedding. I don't know if I should uninvite him. Relevant comments. Zoe Fiona. Oh my god, yes. What has your mom done to you that you'd facilitate hurting her? Why does he know so many details of your mom's travel plans? OP responds, she's the main reason I haven't uninvited him yet. She keeps saying I need to have a relationship with him and being more understanding. He knows because he asked, and we figured he was trying to avoid being on the same flight as her. Edit, wrong word. New update, posted December 17th. Wedding has happened, it just took a bit of time to update because it's my life, and it all went south and was too raw to try to write in a coherent way. It still probably won't be super coherent. Spoiler alert, my dad got uninvited. Summary too long didn't read from the previous post. My dad was acting weird around the wedding. Turns out he told his new wife she was invited when she was not. When it got close to the wedding and I told him to tell her, he got his wife a flight with him so she wouldn't feel left out, and then purposely chose to be on the same flight as my mom so that my mom and his new wife could meet. He has a vindictive streak, so we knew he was trying to upset my mom. Okay, so update. I asked him to change his flight because he had specifically asked me what flight my mom was on so he could avoid her. He had said. And my mom was flying with my grandpa, so it would have been quite hard to change their flights to avoid him. My dad told me he'd changed flights and that he'd invented some lie to tell Ava. He also said I was a horrible person for not believing him when he told me that he had not booked the flight out of spite. But he told my mom he booked the flight on purpose so that she could meet his new wife, and what reason would there be for wanting them to meet other than to be an asshole? I thought the whole thing was resolved, and my mom was really adamant that she wanted my dad to be there because I don't have a great relationship with him, and she knew it would have meant the end of the relationship if I uninvited him. Fast forward to 2 days after the conversation, my dad rebooked his flight and sent me a message to say he had changed flights. Then, that evening, he calls me. I answered the phone, and I could hear someone screaming down the phone. Turns out Ava got her hands on my dad's phone, read the messages where I asked him to reschedule the flight, and she rang me, shouting down the phone that I am unhinged. I'm a horrible person. I'm effed in the head. She said that I'm so weird because I'm in my 30s and I still talk to my parents. This one was really weird because am I meant to stop at a certain age? And that I'm jealous of the fact that my dad has a new life. I was very calm and said that I'm sorry she's upset, that the issues around my wedding aren't really related to her directly, and that my dad was trying to upset my mom. I also said my mom's partner is not coming either, so it wouldn't be fair to have her there. She started shouting that my mom was a fat old cow and I lost it. I absolutely lost it. And this whole thing, my mom has said nothing bad about Ava. I told her I never had any issue with her until now, but that she's a crazy bitch who is super controlling and that I was so glad I never invited her. Then I hung up because by that stage it had been 2 minutes of her shouting at me and I didn't feel like there was any point in talking any longer. The whole time this was going on, my dad was in the background saying feebly, "Oh no, don't be mad at her," while she was shouting down the phone at me. Anyway, next day my dad calls me and says Ava was upset because he didn't tell her about changing the flights and that I was awful for responding to her like that. He also said, "Do you really think this is my fault?" And I said yes, and he said, "Do you really refuse to take any responsibility? None of this would have happened if you had invited her like I asked you to." And I said, does he actually think he has any say in my wedding when he didn't even ask me what type of ceremony I had? Never asked to see my dress or got involved in any way, monetary or otherwise? He asked me if he was still invited, and I said obviously not. He then told me to be careful what I wrote in my messages to him because she was monitoring his phone, and I said I'm not speaking to him again, so that won't be a problem. The wedding was good. My mom walked me down the aisle, and there was nobody there to cause drama, so in the end, it all worked out for the best. The whole thing was just a lot more dramatic than I originally thought it would be. We thought he might end up not coming because he was too entangled in his lies, but for sure did not expect the call I got. And it was very close to the wedding when all the drama happened. I mean, the dad actively chose to want to show Ava off despite Ava not being a great person in the slightest. Like, if you have to tell someone, be careful what you text me because my partner's reading my messages, that should alone tell you everything you need to know about your relationship. But it seems the dad is so blinded by whatever situation he's in that he doesn't see that as being a red flag or any issues with it whatsoever. And it's unfortunate because it's hard for me to feel any sympathy for that situation because, like, you're actively trying to brag to people about how great your relationship is despite the controlling collar you have around your neck. And not in the fun way either. Also, something tells me that Ava was probably either cut off from her parents or she just actively cut her parents off and assumed that that was the normal thing to do. So seeing other people actually having a healthy dynamic with their parents is something just so foreign and unbelievable to her. It just speaks volumes. But hey, you cheated on your wife, you tried to invite your over-controlling affair partner to your daughter's wedding despite her not being invited, and then when told no, you decided to try to book a flight so that way you could still show your new wife off to your daughter's mother, your ex-wife. And when that didn't go your way, you got banned from the wedding, and now it's your daughter's fault for just simply not inviting your affair partner to the wedding. Crazy. We've got a cross post from Best Of. This one's like 4 years old from Texas Ford Tough. No tagline, but their name alone is kind of a tagline. This was originally posted in r/am I the asshole by throwaway smart kids. Am I the asshole for pointing out that my son is smarter than his sister? This is for a while ago, but my daughter is still mad at me, so I need to know if I did something wrong. English isn't my first language. I have 2 kids, Daisy, female 18, and Luke, male 20. Both my kids are very smart, and growing up, it was like a competition for them. Each one of them would try to show that they are smarter, and they would compete in everything. When Luke graduated high school, he got accepted in a very good college. 2 years later, Daisy applied to college and she got accepted into a very good college. But her college wasn't as good as Luke's. So I jokingly said, "See? Now we know for a fact that Luke is smarter." She suddenly got very angry and started yelling at me, even blamed me for not getting accepted in a better college. It was just a joke. I didn't think she would get so angry. Both colleges are very good, and we're so proud of them, but she's barely talking to me now. Relevant comment asking my daughter blames OP. We had financial problems at the time, so we couldn't get her mentors like we did for Luke, but she was doing fine without it, so we didn't think it was necessary. I didn't insult them. I only compared them because it motivated them to do better, and it worked. Also, I'm their mom. Ruling, you're the asshole. Edit. Okay, I'm the asshole. I see it now. You could all stop insulting me. Update. I texted my daughter to apologize and asked her when she's coming back so we can talk about it, and she said, I chose a college far away from home to get away from you, and you think I'm coming back? I tried calling her, but she's not answering. So I guess y'all got what you wanted! I couldn't provide my daughter the same financial resources I did for my son, then called her dumb because of it, and now she's mad at me? Wah! Oh, Reddit, I guess you guys got what you wanted. My daughter doesn't love me anymore. Wah, this is all your fault. Good grief. The thing is that if your daughter Daisy didn't require tutors to keep up with Luke, then Daisy is inherently the smarter child, by the way. Not that you should be comparing them, but I'm just pointing out that your logic is deeply flawed. We've got a cross post from Best Of. This one was collected by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, "It dawned on me that he was a wizard." The original P is Pain Comfortable 8891, posted to r/Am I the Asshole, January 6, 2025. Am I the asshole for refusing to continue providing free childcare for my stepdaughter? I did a work program with the local clerk of court's office when I was in high school. They hired me when I graduated, and I had my 30 service years before I turned 50. With 30 service years, you can get your full pension at any age. I worked until my first grandchild was born, then I retired to be grandma daycare. I have 5 grands, 8 male for my stepson, 7 male for my son, 5 female and 18-month male for my daughter. I babysat all of them with no issue or complaints. I still keep the 18th-month-old Monday through Friday, and older ones summer and school holidays. My stepdaughter and her boyfriend has been non-stop drama since before the baby was born. When she was 10 weeks pregnant, they presented a 3-page list of rules for when I was babysitting. They said if I didn't sign it, they wouldn't allow me to babysit. I said that I understood their need to do what was best for their baby, and I assured them that there would be no hurt feelings on my end when they made other childcare arrangements. Some of the rules were almost understandable, but most were downright ridiculous, and none of it was going to work for me. I don't remember them all, but some examples are: I can't take the baby anywhere without their permission, I can't watch more than one additional child while babysitting, I can't cook, I had to provide the full name, date of birth, and address of any potential visitors ahead of time for their approval of the person being around their child. They have to know anytime I have a guest over and know who it is and how long they stay. My 9-year-old cat would have to be kept out of rooms where the baby would be, even when the baby wasn't there. I couldn't get another pet without their agreement. When she was 7 months along, they came back with revised rules in an attempt to compromise. I again let them know that their expectations were not going to fit with my life and they should just find their own childcare. 2 days after my stepdaughter went back to work, she called and asked if I could keep Colin the next day. I agreed, but made it clear that I was going to provide safe, appropriate care according to my judgment, and I wasn't going to deal with complaints or whatever that I was violating their rules, because I wanted it very clear that I was not agreeing to any of that. My stepdaughter was okay on the day she picked Colin up and dropped him off. I felt like she was interrogating me every time they picked him up, but it was tolerable. But her boyfriend was downright rude. It got to the point where I actually spent Sunday dreading the start of the week because of dealing with both of them, but especially his behavior. At minimum, he'd pick up Colin, make a big deal of partially undress him, make at least one snide comment about my cat or if I had any grandchild over besides the 18th-month-old, or if I had cooked or whatever. Then he'd say, "I guess we don't have a choice but to put up with this for now." Or, "I guess you're happy that you won." This went on for 4 months. I spoke with my stepdaughter several times about it and told her that obviously they are very unhappy with how I cared for Colin, and that they should really work on finding something else, and that in the meantime, he needed to be less vocal about it. It would get better for a day or two, and then he'd start again. It all came to a head as Thanksgiving was approaching. He was very verbal about the fact that he didn't want me to keep all of my grandchildren over the break. I made it very clear that there would be a couple of days that I had all of them, and that they needed to make other arrangements if they had a problem. They didn't make other arrangements, and when he picked up Colin on the first day that I had all of my grandkids, he was very rude. And although nothing happened, everyone was happy, clean, fed, had a great day. He said to Colin that he was sorry that they had no choice except to leave him in an unsafe situation to be neglected. I called my stepdaughter that night, relayed to her what was said, and told her that she had 2 weeks to make other arrangements and that she needed to drop off and pick up Cullen during those 2 weeks, and if her boyfriend came to drop him off, I would refuse to keep him, and if he picked him up, I would not keep him again. So things were better, only dealing with her. At some point she asked me if I would keep him until January because they found someone, but he couldn't start until then. I agreed. She picked Cullen up and dropped him off. Everything was fine. New Year's Day, several people sent me a screenshot of a post her boyfriend made on social media about how thankful he was that they were finally able to leave Cullen without worrying about his safety or him being neglected. He didn't outright name me or accuse me of anything specific, but anyone who knows us knows I was keeping him, and the post implied plenty. I was just happy that it was over. Friday, she called me and said that their new childcare provider had told her that Cullen wasn't a good fit and that she couldn't bring him back Monday. She asked if I would start keeping him again. I told her that I was sorry for their situation, but I really don't feel comfortable keeping him. My husband and stepson both think I should watch Cullen under the agreement that Amanda drop him off and pick him up because they think her boyfriend is the big problem, and that I should just do it for Cullen's sake. My stepson also commented that I'd probably be more willing to let it go if it had been a conflict with my daughter's husband. My pension is about $4,000 a month plus continuation of my health insurance. That's about 40% of our take-home income if that matters. Am I the asshole for refusing to start watching Cullen again? Am I the asshole has no consensus bot. OP was not the asshole. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, not the asshole. No, you shouldn't put yourself through this for Cullen's sake. Cullen will get cared for regardless. There's no need for you to set yourself on fire because your stepdaughter and her boyfriend can't behave like normal human beings. Your husband and stepson are welcome to offer free childcare and put up with this treatment if it's important to them. But you've done your time. Learn from that experience and don't let yourself be put in that same situation again. Commenter 2. For real, she's an ideal grandma and deserves a lot better than whatever this is. OP responds, I don't know about ideal, but my mom was my rock and her helping with my kids helped me so much financially. My kids had such an amazing relationship with her, I wanted to do that for my children and grandchildren. Does OP's stepdaughter and the boyfriend earn enough to have a parent stay home with their child? OP responds, they make roughly the same salary, so doubt they could afford either to stay home, and I doubt that's what he wants. I don't meddle in their affairs, but they seem to spend a lot of money relative to their salaries. I really don't know what goes on in their house. She and I aren't close, so she wouldn't confide in me if there was a problem, but I don't think he's abusing her. Commenter 3. Looks like your stepson should find a new babysitter then. Given you're always showing so much favoritism to your biological children. Eye roll emoji. OP responds, his is the oldest. I literally retired to watch his child for free. I could have just kept working and waited until my biological children had babies if that's how I felt. Question in regards to how is OP's relationship with her stepdaughter? My stepdaughter had lots of very big emotions when her dad got serious with me. Her parents had been divorced for years but were still angry at each other and didn't exactly co-parent well at the time. I was, unfortunately, the person she lashed out at most. I worked in the clerk of court's office and took lots of free evening family court classes. They're such a great resource and so many people sat through them, court-ordered, but completely disengaged. I've had lots of practice and professional help setting behavioral expectations and boundaries with her. Update. January 7th, 2025, the next day. First, let me just address the common suggestion that Amanda's boyfriend is purposely sabotaging their childcare to trap her at home. They make roughly the same amount of money and definitely can't afford to lose half their income. I seriously doubt he wants her to stay home. Second, I would never tell my stepson to find somewhere else to watch his child because of a simple difference of opinion. My grandson and I have a very close bond. He's the oldest, and it would break my heart and his if he didn't come spend his holidays and summers with me. Plus, he's a huge help with the little ones when I have them all and things get hectic. I would never be so petty as to make him and all my other grandchildren suffer because of an adult disagreement. So I sort of asked around about why they were dropped by their new sitter so quickly. Apparently, they weren't. Amanda picked Colin up and dropped him off both days he went, and everything was lovely. He did cry, quite a bit, but they expected that to get better as he adjusted to not being held as much. My husband and stepson talked to Amanda, and she said that they realized that they can't afford daycare. They already made the easy changes, packing a lunch, giving up fancy coffee, etc. And his dad and her mom are both giving them about $100 a month towards childcare, and they can barely afford it. But they didn't realize that you have to send everything the baby needs. I buy diapers, wipes, formula bottles, extra clothes, etc. They just hand me the baby. They didn't realize that daycare didn't cover all that. Also, imagine her boyfriend's surprise when he found out what the staffing rates are in this very expensive daycare. One adult cares for 5 infants. I guess he thought that someone would provide one-on-one care, diapers, wipes, and formula for $350 a week. My stepson relayed their almost apology. They felt overwhelmed by an infant and couldn't imagine that someone else could manage that plus other things. Colin is going back to daycare tomorrow. Colin's dad is selling his dirt bike, and Amanda is selling some designer clothes, handbags, and shoes to cover the cost. It'll get easier for them in 6 months when he transfers to the 1-year-old class, which is a little cheaper. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Good on you, OP. If your husband brings it up again, tell him he can pay for his grandson's childcare if you had been publicly accused of neglect, and will not take on the legal risk of caring for Colin anymore. OP responds, we agreed when they were cutting up that he wouldn't give them any money towards childcare. Commenter 2. So, not only are they myopic and ungrateful and condescending, but they're also dishonest. Amanda lied to her stepmother when she told her that they had been asked to leave, that it wasn't a good fit, and their last day would be Monday at the daycare. Wow. I'm so glad OP didn't back down and let them bring Colin back. OP responds, I will never babysit him again. I will not watch him in a house. I will not watch him with a mouse. I will not watch him in a box. I will not watch him with a fox. I will not watch him here or there. I will not watch him anywhere. Commenter 3. Info. Is Amanda's boyfriend even the least bit contrite that his entitlement and unreasonable attitude has cost his family money they can clearly not afford? If not, has any of this lifted the haze from Amanda's eyes that this guy is a good partner to support her and their child through all of life's ups and downs? For heaven's sake, they had free childcare at their disposal and they shat all over OP. Talk about shitting the bed. OP responds, I really can't say. My stepson and husband spoke to Amanda and possibly him and relayed the message. I haven't spoken to them directly since I found out Amanda lied about Colin being kicked out of daycare. I honestly don't care if he's sorry or not at this point. Being sorry that you got caught and have a consequence is different than reflecting on your actions and realizing that you were wrong and have real remorse. If he ever gets to that point, we can have a heart-to-heart. Opie responds to the question, where are the stepdaughter and her boyfriend's parents' involvement in Colin's care? Opie responds, her mom and dad both work full-time. His dad works full-time. No idea about his mom. Opie can set up boundaries when it comes to caring for her grandchildren. Opie responds, when you are providing free childcare, you can allow whatever boundaries you want. I'm not texting anyone about a short trip to the store. If that's a condition they have, they are more than welcome to make other arrangements for their children that do not involve me. Editor's note, OP made an important comment 1 month after this BROU was posted. I'm adding for more context. OP was asked on how Colin was doing after going back to the daycare. OP responds, he's not in daycare anymore. My stepson's wife got abruptly laid off and they decided she should stay home and babysit Colin and stepdaughter should pay her the difference between what she gets in unemployment and what she was making before. My stepdaughter and her boyfriend are miserable because the house is not very tidy and Colin and his things get dog hair on them. And they're paying almost as much as daycare for their baby and his stuff to be covered in dog hair and for his stuff to smell from being in the house. Stepson and his wife are miserable because stepdaughter and her boyfriend aren't very appreciative of the favor they're doing and make comments and complain about the dirty house, dogs, etc. They're all stuck for now because daycare filled his spot and he's on their waiting list. I'm staying absolutely out of it. I just really hope that like every single day that they spend with the childcare situation they're in, that they realize how much they just killed the golden goose. Free childcare! And it was in a pretty decent environment with someone who has a lot of expertise with caring for children and a lot of experience and someone who enjoys doing it. Well, that's not good enough for us. What do you mean daycare is that expensive? What do you mean we actually have to purchase these things now? What do you mean our other alternative for it to be cheaper is a family member that lives in a house that has the exact thing that we were afraid of having, of dog hair and smells everywhere that we don't like? What do you mean you won't take us back because of our behavior towards you? Like, damn, the consequences of trying to be stingy with free childcare from someone who actually cares for and loves you guys, who you publicly accused of neglect.
Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSups. Use code OZ at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code OZ directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Bear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code OZ at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.